Welcome to the 12 Days of Edition Wars. In this year's series, we'll be taking a deep dive into the iconic monsters of D&D. On the 6th day of Edition Wars, my DM gave to me, there's more than 6 eyes on a beholder, but that does give the, oh wait, yeah, right. Beholder, give me beholder.
There are more than 6 eyes.
Sort of famously.
That's horrible. It's actually quite horrible.
So
It's
many.
not good. It's not good. So tell me about beholders.
Well, this is a part where you usually pick up,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah. Sorry. Let me tell you about beholders.
excellent.
So,
Please do.
so original edition. It does not introduce beholders into the first three little brown books. However, they are found in the first supplement, which is Greyhawk. That's not surprising, seeing as how they sprung from the mind of Gary Gygax, and Greyhawk was his setting. So basically, what they have is just to give you some stats first, and then we'll talk about what the description says. They only ever appear singularly, and they have a relatively low armor class. They have a slow movement also, special hit dice rating, and they are in their lair more than almost any other creature. If we take a look at what it says regarding their description, it says these monsters are also known as spheres of many eyes, or the name that is next brought up is one that has stuck with it. The spheres of many eyes didn't really stick with it, but what stuck with it was eye tyrants. The body of these creatures is a great globe of about 3 feet in diameter. Atop it are 10 eye stalks. 10. So we should have done this on the 10th day of Christmas. 10th day
11th,
of Edition Wars.
11th, Sam. 11th.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yes, that's true because it does have a middle eye. Anyway, yes, yes. Why didn't we wait until the 11th day? Anyway, it says atop it are 10 eye stalks. In the center of the spherical body is a great 11th eye. The body can sustain 40 points of damage, and each eye, that's why it says special hit dice, right?
Hmm.
The body can sustain 40 points of damage, each eye stalk 10 points, and the central eye can withstand 20 points. So altogether, that's 60 plus 10 for each eye stock, which is 100 because there's 10 of those. So that's 160 total if you want to remove every single hit point from this creature. Although in Zero Edition, in Original Edition, you generally did not do that. Yeah, go ahead.
Presumably, you can
Yeah.
just kill the body and the eyes
Right.
die.
Yeah, presumably, yes, yes. At least in this one, yes. The armor class of the body is 0, the eye stalks have an armor class of 2, and the eyes themselves of 7. Each eye functioning is a different manner. From 1 to 4 of the small eyes are able to function at one time, so up to 4 at a time. And they number the eyes as such. Eye number 1 does a charm person spell. Eye number 2 does charm monster. Eye number 3 does a sleep spell. Eye number 4 does telekinesis. Eye 5 is flesh stone ray. That's flesh to stone, right? 6 is a disintegrate ray. 7 is a fear ray. 8 is a slow spell. 9 is a serious wound spell that's cause serious wounds. And 10 is a death ray. Of course, the middle eye is an anti-magic ray, which is eye number 11. It says, in addition, beholders are able to levitate themselves and float slowly about. These monsters are avaricious. They are neutral in nature, although they tend to be chaotic.
I would just like to note that the Fleshstone Ray is the less popular cousin of Ray Winstone. Also, and having Charm Person and Charm Monster sort of back to back
Hmm.
is a bit, but why?
Yeah, right. Presumably they are intelligent, so they would not just willy-nilly randomly decide which eye stalk uh to activate.
Yes, but let's
Um,
put a pin in that idea.
right. Yeah, so well, that was how they were intended to be, I think, in this edition. They were meant to be intelligent creatures that choose their targets and choose which spell to enact while looking at that target. And so, it makes sense that they would have charm person and charm monster, and it doesn't really matter that they happen to be on the stalks next to each other because they wouldn't necessarily. That doesn't mean they're going to only use those two. it does have a sort of additional bit of information, and that is that if attacked from above, all of the small eyes can function simultaneously, but the large eye cannot. If all the small eyes are functioning simultaneously instead of just one to four being able to function at a time, um, then that large eye can't. So you can't do an anti-magic ray and have all the other eyes active. It says 25% of all hits are upon the eyes. 40% of the eye damage is on the central eye. So, you basically what this says is you're going to determine randomly where the person hit when they attack
Right.
this thing, and 40% of the time, or 25% of the time, it's on eyes. The rest of the time, it's on the main body, which has the lowest AC,
This
which
ex yeah,
in original lower is better.
yeah, this extent of like fully custom rules for just how to like resolve combat
Hmm.
with this creature. Boy,
Right.
I see why this mechanic didn't survive.
Right.
Ooh,
Well,
doggies.
and yeah, and the thing is, like, it does kind of survive in the complexity of what this creature is, and one of the reasons why it's so um popular over the years is because it has such weird things about it, and the complexity with which the creature is run changes throughout the different editions, right?
Yeah.
Um, the image on the so they reprinted the original edition back in 2012 or 2013, in a wooden box, and they printed them with new covers because they didn't want people to buy the new one and then pass it off as one of the older prints and try to say it's in pristine condition and make thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right.
So they put new covers on the books, and the cover of the Greyhawk book features a beholder fighting some sort of hero, and it's a much more sort of modern take on the beholder image than what you would find in the art around this time period, otherwise. So
Yeah, to say the least.
yeah, so that's what you get for original edition. All said and done, it's a sort of this difficult creature with very specific peculiarities about how you deal with it, both as a PC and as a DM. Moving forward, the next thing that happens is Holmes Basic, and the only place where the Beholder is mentioned in Holmes Basic is on the alignment table.
You're right.
In the
That is an
the
absolutely goofy
I
way
I
to
told you.
introduce that idea.
Yeah, so the Beholder is not actually doesn't get stats in Holmes Basic, of course, because remember Holmes Basic is just meant to go to levels 1 to 3 for the PCs, and then it tells you to shoot over to AD&D First Edition to
Uh,
continue. And so there really aren't stats for really high powered creatures in here, and
Point of order.
they're really not even sort of mentioned until you get to this page. What's your point of
Yeah.
order?
Uh, Looking at that chart of the
Hmm.
creatures on it, how many are actually statted in this book at all?
Uh,
Because I bet
I
the Lamassu isn't, and I
no
bet
no, and I think dragons are, but they I think dragons are mentioned. Bugbears are certainly statted out.
sure
Um,
bugbears, apes,
Probably the apes
cockatrices,
and
sure,
maybe the cockatrice, right? Um,
but
but here's the thing:
demon, very general
demons are
demon. All right,
right.
not helpful.
Demons are not right for sure. But here's what's funny about this, right? So if we go back to that entry up here where it talks about the beholder, it says that they are neutral in nature, although they tend to be chaotic. That's what the original edition said. And then when they do this chart, so the reason we're laughing is because it's really not mentioned anywhere else in Holmes Basic except on this alignment chart. And the alignment chart is trying to show you the law neutral chaos axis and the good neutral evil axis. And beholders are in the law evil quadrant, not in the neutral to chaos quadrant.
But also
So, yeah,
this chart means very little in the scope of the book that it appears in.
right. That's correct. Yes. But it's a bizarre. Before we started recording,
Yeah.
I was telling Brandis he was going to laugh when he sees where the beholder is mentioned because literally this is the only name drop of the beholder in this book. Um, and the beholder is also not mentioned in the BX version, so Moldvay Cook Marsh. That it has no mention. And in Beckme, it's not mentioned in the first two books, the basic and expert, but it is mentioned in the companion, where you get actual stats for a beholder. And it's basically the same stats, very slow movements, lots of hit dice that it explains later. It has a bite attack and a bunch of special attacks. Those are the eyes, of course. Um, and a number appearing is always only one. It does save as a high level magic user, has a really high morale. The alignment here is listed as chaotic, and it has a halfway decent XP. And it says this: it says a beholder, also called an eye tyrant or a sphere of many eyes, looks like a large floating ball, 4 feet in diameter, covered with tough armor plated skin. That's new. Atop the beholder are 10 small eyes on stalks, each with its own magical power. A large central eye is on the front of the body with a toothy mouth below it. Which, by the way, it did not really mention a mouth before, but now it does. A beholder moves by magical slow flight, though this cannot be dispelled. It speaks most languages and is extremely intelligent, cruel, and greedy. It is normally found alone, but is rarely found with 1 to 6 young. The beholder's front eye always projects an anti-magic ray, which temporarily turns off all magic within 60 feet in front of it. Magic weapons used within the ray are treated as if they are non-magical. Spells cast within the area of effect are instantly ruined. Spells cast from further away are ruined when the effects get within range. A beholder will usually turn to face any character who starts casting, ruining their spell. Magic weapons and items will work normally once they are removed from the anti-magic ray area, and existing spell effects with durations will resume once the ray is directed elsewhere. This ray cannot be aimed above or below the creature, but only straight out in front of it. As this ray can affect any magic, even that of a smaller eye, as explained below, the small eyes cannot be used on targets within the anti-magic ray. If a beholder is attacked with a weapon, the player must declare what his character is aiming at, the body, the large eye, or an eye stalk. Each target has a different armor class and hit points. The body is AC 0, that's the same as it was before. It has 50 hit points, that's a little more than before. The front eye is AC 2, that's also the same, and has 20 hit points. An eye stalk is only AC 7, but can withstand 12 points of damage. That's a little bit more than the damage it had before. Damage to eye stalks does not count toward killing the creature. Small eyes and eye stalks. If a hit roll against an eye stalk is successful, the DM should roll randomly to see which stalk is damaged. A slain eye stalk has been cut off, but the damaged stalk does not interfere with the eye's functioning. Lost eyes grow back in 2 to 8 days. Partial damage to eye stalks regenerates 1 hit point per day. Only 4 small eyes can aim in one direction at the same time, and they cannot see the area directly below the body. Each eye stalk can shoot a ray with a different spell-like effect once per round. Page references are given so that the DM may refer to the complete spell descriptions. Reverse spell effects are indicated by an asterisk. I1, Charm Person. I2, Charm Monster. I3, Sleep. That's different. I4, Telekinesis. I5, Flesh to Stone. I6, Disintegrate. I7, Cause Fear. That's also, is that the same? I can't remember. I8, Slow, and I9, Cause Serious Wounds. I10, of course, is a death spell, and we already know I11 is the anti-magic ray.
Hmm.
Talk about minutia within the spell description, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
and just the structure of like um you resolve the whole idea of targeting and hit points differently
Right.
for weapons than you do for
Yep.
like anything else is not, good.
Right.
That's
Yep.
not a good idea. Um,
Yep.
like if you manage to light this guy up with a fireball, like
Hmm.
I need you to give me some kind of reason that it doesn't flash fry all of those eyes.
Right.
Just something,
Yeah. Yep.
right?
Yeah. Yep. No, I hear you. I hear you.
This is
Um,
a kind of ultra sort of bespoke design that I don't love. Uh,
yeah.
Once we get down to how hit point work in your bespoke design, I'm
Yeah.
probably not gonna love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like you
I mean,
definitely see how like the
yeah.
the whole sense of the thing is is moving toward the sort of randomized eye stalks because
Right.
of the sense that it can only target with four of its eyes at a
Hmm.
time.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, and this is really how, um, in BECME and to some extent in BX as well, but m more so in BECME, I think. Um, there are lots of creatures that have sort of these bespoke mechanics that go with them, because that was the game was okay. Once you meet this creature, you might think it's easy at first, and then it does something that's its special power or whatever, and that's when you learn, oh, that's why that thing's dangerous, right? It was part of the game, and it also set the setting apart, right? Because remember, Beckme was trying to make Mystara different from the other things, but also
sure,
familiar enough and similar enough that you felt familiar, so you didn't feel like it was just weird, right? So there's a lot of elements in the game that have creatures that have sort of these slight differences that then require this huge explanation, right? Yeah, very very interesting. So that's in the companion set, and then in the master set we get the Undead Beholder. I'm not going to read the whole description because it's also just as long. But if we look at the eye stalk powers,
hmm
um, I1 is animate dead. I2 is charm like a vampire or as a vampire would. I3 is continual darkness. I4 is death spell. I5 is energy drain 1 level. I6 is energy drain 2 levels. I7 is paralysis such as a ghoul. I8 is animate object. I9 is dispel magic, and I10 is telekinesis, right? And, this is an undead creature, so it has, all of the conditions that an undead creature would have, right?
it also
The
has substantially better AC.
Yeah, the
Just
front eye of it does not do anti-magic. It projects a ray of reflection. Any
interesting.
spell cast at the monster from this direction is reflected back at the caster. And any attempt to turn undead from the front is reflected back on the cleric, who has to make a saving throw versus spells or run in fear for 2 to 12 rounds.
That's a really weird idea of what the cleric is even doing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like that is as if to say, uh, this is a turning spell, and
Yep.
it will just turn whatever it hits. But normally it
Right.
can only hit undead,
Yep.
except that this undead makes it able to hit people. What a weird
Right. Yeah,
idea.
it's really weird. Yeah. Yeah. Um, but it exists, and the reason that I bring it up is because we're going to see undead beholders in the future in some other editions, right? So I wanted
Yeah.
to bring it up that it did show up here, right?
Uh-huh.
And then we'll talk about it. So let's move to 1E. Let's talk about the first edition beholder, which I have to say I think has the like funniest image. It's just so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't look as it looks weird, but it doesn't look supremely threatening the way that beholders are generally thought of. So let's take a look at it. So number appearing is always still 1. Your armor class is the same. Your movement's very slow. A ton of hit points. Almost always in the lair. Has special magical attacks and defenses. Exceptional intelligence is called out in this specifically. It's now lawful evil instead of chaotic. And here's what it says: the beholder, in parentheses, eye tyrant, comma, sphere of many eyes. So it's trying to keep that that second name. All eye tyrant sticks, but whatever. It's most frequently found underground, although it infrequently will lair in desolate wildernesses. The globular body of this monster is supported by levitation, and it floats slowly about as it wills. Atop the sphere, 10 eye stalks. In the central area are a great 11th eye and a large mouth filled with pointed teeth. The body is protected by a hard chitinous covering. The creature's eye stalks and eyes are protected, though less well. Because the particular nature of the beholder, it's able to withstand the loss of its eye stalks. That's not part of its hit points. So it sort of consolidates some of that stuff that was in the previous write-ups that were very long, and it puts them into basically a long paragraph and then a description of the eye powers. And the eye powers go like this: charm person, charm monster, sleep, telekinesis, flesh to stone ray, disintegrate, fear, slow spell, cause serious wounds, death ray, and then of course the middle eye is anti-magic again still. It also has that weird, like when you hit this thing, the eye stalks can take a certain amount of hit points and the body is 75% of the potential hit area. Like it has all of that stuff built in here, but described sort of more in a more concise way, you know, um, and stuff like that. So, and then it says the beholder is hateful, aggressive, and avaricious. It will usually attack immediately if confronted by a particularly powerful party. There's a 50% chance they will listen to negotiations, either to be bribed not to attack or to pay a ransom to not be attacked, depending on the strength of the opposing party. They can speak their own language as well as that tongue known to lawful evil creatures. So it's sort of because it calls out this exceptional intelligence, it kind of says, yeah, well, exceptionally intelligent creatures, they'll bargain for their own lives. They don't just want to float around and if they run into something that's really formidable, they're not just going to die just because. And so it adds that in. And so that's sort of the kind of bonus extra thing that it gets that is different from what's previously been written. Otherwise, it stays almost exactly the same as it was in the previous write-ups. So each time that this gets written up, it gets expanded just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not
they
bad.
they have, one or two extra questions that came up that they have to respond to, or,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
questions they personally had. Like,
Right.
once you cut off an eye, what happens?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep.
It's
Yep.
not an
Exactly.
unreasonable
Yeah.
question to ask,
Right. Nope.
though,
Not at all. Yeah.
D&D doesn't engage with that idea really at all.
Right.
Uh, but,
Right.
this is sort of, it's a starfish but eyes.
Right. Yep.
I do need to
Yeah.
point out, it's a starfish but eyes is actually a different monster in 5e. A monster I
Right.
really, really like called the Mind Witness.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's head over to second edition. And second edition is when we get beholders and beholderkins all sort of in the same kind of listing. So now we're getting the regular beholder. We also get something called a death kiss, and we get an eye of the deep, which is found in the deep ocean. We get a goth, we get a spectator, and we get an undead beholder all together, right? We get all of these things. It basically says, these things are the stuff of nightmares. These eye tyrants appear as large orbs dominated by a central eye, large toothy maw, 10 smaller eye sprouts. Equally deadly are, and here's where it talks about the kin, a number of variant creatures known collectively as beholder kin, including radical and related creatures and an undead variety. And it sort of goes into all of these. The eye stalks are the same as in first edition for the regular beholder. The central eye is an anti-magic ray, just like the regular beholder previously. And it also has variable fewer hit points on the eye stalks, and main body is more hit points and gets hit most of the time, things like that. And then it goes into explaining, all of the different variants of this. So I don't know how much we want to go into the variants other than to just say they're a real expansion on what it means to be a sort of beholder and what could possibly, there's a lot of different ways you could take these, eye stalks and this sort of weird globular bulbous creature with a bunch of eyes and do weird things with it.
Yeah.
The death kiss, it has a no mouth. Its central eye has infravision. It has tentacles that they can attack. It's a lot weirder and more different.
Yeah.
It actually it stuns, the tentacle stuns, and yeah, I mean, like there's just there's so many weird things in here
Like, I
because they
really,
the tentacles act almost like a proboscis where they can drain blood. Like
yeah.
it's very weird,
So I really
very
like
weird.
the idea of the Death Kiss and really a lot of the Beholderkin. I will just say they have here designed something maybe too difficult to practically use.
Right, right,
Like the Death Kiss, like the baseline Beholder, uh, walks right up to that line, and for many
Mm,
users will cross it, right?
right.
That's normal. Like you kind of okay, it's a high level combat. You probably have a good chance to really get familiar with the norms of D&D combat before you have to deal with something that breaks the norms this badly.
Right.
The Death Kiss then takes that many steps farther down that
Right.
line with making you uh, track ingested blood as a currency.
Right.
That's that's not great in like round by round usage to
Right.
just be
Right.
fun. Um,
Well, that's
but
the sort of thing where it's a quest that you're given is a death kiss is roaming an area and creating havoc for
yeah,
some population of people, and you hear all of the rumors and legends about them, and all the people who have ever experienced one are dead, but you get the rumors and the exaggerated different things, and you're not sure what's exaggerated and what's not, and then you have to go find it and kill it. And so it's like basically something you would run one time,
sure,
and
and
it's yeah,
that's not a problem to me, right?
right, right,
Just uh, even within I only have to deal with this once.
right.
There's
It's
enough
onerous.
paragraphs
Yeah,
that it is hard to get your head around.
yeah,
So what I'm trying to say is I would love to see a re-rendered version of this that
right,
focused on its core combat story in
right.
a better way and made that more usable because
Yeah,
the rest of the pitch of like it looks like a beholder, but instead it's a blood draining horror. Okay,
right. Yeah,
talking about language, that sounds cool as
right.
hell. What's going on with
Yeah,
that?
yeah. But I can never run it, so
Right.
yeah, right.
It's just a lot. Like
Yeah,
and having them, ram is a weird idea. It's one of their
right.
attacks.
Yeah.
But like
And
the art on the bottom of this page that you're
yeah,
looking at
is
is one of the ones
hilarious.
that's
Yeah,
really stuck with me. I
yeah.
really like it.
Right.
Of just all these different weirdos and
Hmm.
their kind of different
Right.
emotions. Like the
Yep.
the guy on the top right there is just he's cringing. He's cringing without
Yeah.
the aid of the rest of his body,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
mouth expression means
Right.
one thing, and yeah,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Like it's so
Yeah.
weird.
And I'll point out that the like not all of them have these really long drawn out. Like the Eye of the Deep just has like two paragraphs. That's it. The Goth,
Hmm.
which is a magic eating beholder, it has a little bit of a description, but mostly just because its eye stalks do different things,
Yeah,
right? The Spectator has, a little bit of a thing, but again, a lot of it is, oh, what spells can it use, right?
yeah,
And then the undead, it gets, it gets its own write up, but it's, it's mostly similar to what we saw before. And then there's a whole other section. There's a hive mother beholder, there's a director beholder, an examiner, a lensman, an overseer, and a watcher. Like it gets really deep into like the different castes and levels of what it means to be an eye tyrant and how their society works. And it's
yeah.
just it's these amazing write-ups about everything that's going on. And it really does paint the picture of wow, this is a whole society of creatures and their kin who, you could definitely set up an entire like layer of
Yeah.
the Underdark, or a layer of the Abyss that
Well,
that contains like all of these different things.
yeah, and like toward the very end of that write-up, it
Hmm.
goes on to just name check still more
Hmm. Right.
that aren't
Yeah.
going to get
Yep.
statted. Like,
Exactly.
oh my
Yes.
God, guys,
Yep.
calm
Yeah.
down. But
Yeah.
I
Right.
say that, but I unironically love it.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
is one of the grabbiest things I have I have seen in that entire book. And don't get me
Yep.
wrong, the
Hmm.
Second Ed Monster Manual is one of the things that made absolutely damn sure I was going to play D&D forever. Like
Right.
I
Right.
read and reread this book so much,
Yeah.
and this is just one of the biggest, weirdest idea entries that exists in this or any other uh D&D published monster manual
Right.
because there's
Right.
so many ideas here
Yep.
and I would love to see 5e go back to even, 1d4 of these ideas
Hmm.
and just here's a new stat block. This thing is messed up, y'all. Let's go.
Right,
Oh,
right.
you thought you're
Yep,
fighting a beholder? No, we
yep,
tacked on 10 CRs. Get
right.
wrecked, nerd.
Yep, yep, yep. So let's move. We're trying to go quickly because otherwise we could talk about this thing for like 5 hours.
Can
Let's go
confirm.
over to 3.5. I'll say that the Beholder picture in third edition, in the third edition Monster Manual, is the first picture where it really looks like a super foreboding, dangerous creature.
Yeah,
And it's not that it didn't look, it could look foreboding in the other editions, but there was also this level of just silliness,
yeah,
with the eyes kind of hanging off, and a lot of the beholders had kind of a goofy look on their face. Um, but when you get to third edition, the image here is holy that's scary.
yeah.
Like that,
This is a solid
yeah,
piece of art. I do like this a lot.
yeah.
Um, Now, I seem to recall there's some very good. Well, actually, I don't think that all of the beholders in Second Ed are silly.
No,
I
they're not. There,
I think
there's
that some of
actually
them are
we
reasonably pretty scary.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about the Monstrous Arcana second
Right.
edition series
Yeah.
that came out. That was three adventures, and then it had like a whole Beholder book and whatnot. Because
Yeah.
they did the same thing with Mind Flayers and with the Sahuagin
Yep.
and a couple other things, I think.
Yep.
Um, and the Beholders there, some of the art was still kind of on the goofy side, but some of it was very good.
Yeah. Um,
And so there was an evolution. It's not like, oh, they're all goofy, they're meant to look goofy, and then all of a sudden, ooh, here's this really evil looking one. It's just that this particular one in third edition just looks so
yeah.
foreboding.
Yeah. It's strong. I like this
Yeah.
one a lot. Um, like
So yeah,
the needle teeth are sort
right,
of. Oh, those are meant for tearing, I guess.
right,
Holy shit, those
right.
are distressing teeth.
Yes. Yeah. Those
Though,
those
oh man,
things, yeah. It's got a chomper.
I guess I just thought of a new horrible storyline and or like storyline situation where the thing that has the teeth of Dalvarnar
Oh,
is a
geez. Oh my
beholder.
goodness. Wow. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Sorry, y'all. Campaign's
yes.
over.
Whew. Yeah. Boy, that took a turn.
Yeah, just like the way some of the teeth are sort of
Yeah. Yep.
misaligned
Yeah.
and twisted
Right.
really put
Yep.
that in my brain.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's really ooh, that's wicked. I like it. That's really good. But let's talk about the stats.
Yeah,
So in third edition, the Beholder, it also has a Goth, which we saw also in the second edition. But let's look at the Beholder. It's a large aberration. It has 11 hit dice, +6 initiative, um, pretty good armor class. What's its
I'm
CR?
I am really staring at 93 hit points and asking how that's supposed to survive any damn
Yeah,
thing. For
right.
CR 13, no.
Yeah. Oh, it's 13. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, right. Because by the time a CR 13 creature is meeting a party, they're dealing out 93 hit points with no problem.
Yeah. And like, it's not that its AC isn't kind of respectable, but
Right.
come on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
So you're having to rely then on the eye rays to slow the party down, right?
right. And you really, like, if they're the only thing you're fighting, then okay, there's several CRs above you, but not enough. Like,
Right.
if they're level 9 or 10, they're kicking out so much damage.
Right.
So, okay, in fairness, their mages are not. Their mages might be totally hosed.
Right. Well, so if we look at the eye powers, the eye rays, we
Yeah.
get the old favorites, right? We get Charm Monster,
Yep.
we get Charm Person, we get Disintegrate, Fear, Finger of Death. That's a good one. flesh to stone, inflict moderate wounds, which does 2d8 plus 10 points of damage. That doesn't seem like that big a deal. Sleep and slow and telekinesis, all those are very familiar. And then, of course, the middle eye, the main eye, is anti-magic.
Yeah.
How does anti-magic work in third edition?
I mean, you're looking at it.
This is
There's
it.
there's
So,
there's
so
not a
there's no
lot.
over, yeah,
There's not
yeah.
a lot more to say. Um, like I don't think it is on. I don't think it functions as, oh, it's just perfect spell resistance, which would actually be a much weaker than anti-magic, right?
Hmm.
Because there are
Yeah,
spells that ignore spell resistance anyway. But
right,
yeah, this is definitely trying to handle like eyes open, eyes closed. Uh,
right. Very interesting.
I
So with all of the horribleness of the picture, do you think the stats, excuse me, the stats live up to?
very much no.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
too
it's I
bad.
think I think the durability is not there. I think that really anytime you have in third ed, anytime you have fewer hit dice than your CR, just right at the gate, I'm gonna be be taking a little slow. Like
Yeah,
what it does have going for it is that if it gets a turn, some of your guys might just keel over,
right.
done.
Yeah.
They might be dust in the wind, but it's a question, right? And this doesn't really
Mm.
do the DM any favors around sort of I need to make good tactical decisions. The best this has going for it is, well, it can fly, and if you are flying up to meet it with a fly spell, no, you aren't. No, you aren't. You're falling,
Right. Yeah.
right? Um,
Yeah.
but if it is within reach of the ground, it's already failed in its whole tactical goal.
Right.
Um, because it wants to never be anywhere near uh, the melee reach of someone with power attack. That is its number one job. Avoid getting power attacked into the dirt, right?
Right.
Um,
Yep.
and so it wants to approach every combat from fairly high up. Um,
Yep.
maybe you can send a flyer after it and power attack it there, but
Right.
maybe it can then concentrate all of its fire on them and give them a really terrible day.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, it does say that the each eye ray has a range of 150 feet
yeah.
and a save DC of 17. Is that good in third edition? I don't have a
Uh,
sense of how good or bad that is.
um, it's okay at CR13. It's distinctly okay. It's not scary. Scary is north of 20,
Yeah.
right? Um, and that touches on one of the fundamental issues of third, right? Where save bonus scaling, there's three possible um, save bonus scaling rates, and for the most part, there's two. Uh, the the
Right.
the mid range is not common. I don't as far as I recall. So you've got good saves and bad saves for the most part, and uh, at 20th level, those have diverged by 6 points, right? Uh, but then also on top of that, you're stacking good ability scores and not good ability scores, and there's no upper bound on ability scores except for how good did you start. You can add 5 points to
Right.
that over the course of the game. Um, so you know your best save and best ability score when those are paired together well, or if you're a monk and are just have all good saves, uh, DC 17 is nothing. Um,
Yeah.
Also, you're by this point in the game, you pretty definitely need a save boosting item, like your cloak of protection situation,
Right.
whatever, or whatever other piece you can get that will boost your saves for you. Um, and if you have some of that going, um, or if God help you, you spend a feat boosting a save, don't do that. It's not worth it. But if you
Yeah,
did, um, then again, 17 is getting pretty trivialized, um, as far as I can recall. I mean,
yeah,
I haven't, you know, tried to really run third since 2008, I think. There's the parts um, of 2008 before there was a 4E.
right, right. Yeah, okay.
So
I
yeah,
mean, that's fair.
yeah, yeah.
I never ran it to any great extent, so I have no sense of what's good and bad.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
um,
I noticed the advancement here that touches on
mhm.
giving them additional hit dice and just uh yeah, it's a much bigger problem if you triple the hit dice. I don't
Yeah,
I don't want to deal with
yeah,
the CR scaling on that. That sounds like a nightmare. But man, these guys would be a whole problem with triple the hit points. That
right.
is true.
Yeah,
Like they've got good solid constitution. Um, I don't know. I'd probably put forth the argument that their listed intelligence of 17, which is going to be what their DCs are all based on,
hmm,
um, is probably a little low for selling the fiction that they're supposed to present,
yeah,
right?
yeah. They're supposed to be like super geniuses.
Supposed to be super geniuses,
Yeah,
right? And that's good, but it's not even their highest stat.
right, right.
And for
Yep.
CR13, it's not particularly impressive. Um, they've giving them flyby attack as a feat's a little bit of help because it means that they can basically disengage and avoid opportunity attacks freely. That's very, very helpful in third.
Yeah,
The rest of the feats are, you know, the very just passive benefit that I can easily factor into the monster stat block kind of deal that um, designers like because it's easy to manage, but they're not high power feats in
yeah,
in real function.
yep,
Um,
yep.
I think that if this were if this had been written sometime later than the 3.5 Monster Manual, you would see them getting a lot more in the way of spell penetration feats um, or DC boosting feats, just because that's the core of their effectiveness. Can I get a PC to fail a save? Can I get a PC to fail spell resistance?
Right, right. Okay, so before we move on, is there anything else you want to say about the third edition Beholder?
No, I'm pretty squared away on this guy.
Okay.
I think that one of the notable things here, really, in terms of going forward, is just that the IRAs aren't random in what they use, right?
Right.
Um, as far as I see, the beholders have their own discretion as to what they murder you with.
Hmm.
Um, this is going to come up later.
Right.
Uh, so
Right.
it does really emphasize how Charm Person and Charm Monster are just fully redundant, though.
Right. In this
Like
edition, they
Charm
are.
Charm
Yeah.
Person
Yeah.
has no function. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So let's move on. But before we move to fourth edition, let's take a pit stop because, for the audience, generally speaking, we're not paying attention to any of the Dragon magazine releases and articles in there. The Beholder's a beloved creature, one of the most favorite iconic creatures of all D&D players, right? From the very early days. And so there are many articles, there's many different variations, but we're kind of staying away from that because, of course, then this entire 12 days could be about the Beholder. But there is one pit stop we need to make before we get to fourth edition, and that is a little book that they made for third edition called The Lords of Madness. This is the Book of Aberrations, and we actually stopped in here as well when we talked about the Mind Flayers, because they are also some of the most popular aberrations. And just to give you an idea, this Lords of Madness book gives you roughly 25 or so pages just on beholders. They have a whole section on anatomy, a section on what they do, how their life cycle is, the different types of beholders, how they cast magic, what their society is like, and then I think it has a little sample like uh, beholder villain and a lair and whatnot. So there's a lot of information in here. So I love this. This is the image of it's supposed to be like a page from a like a Monsternomicon, right? That shows
Hmm.
you
Yep.
the side view of a dissected, a cut open eye, so that you could see sort of what it's what the inside of it looks like. Um, so yeah, very interesting. I love of course, as a biologist, I love these versions of the books. They do this a lot with the Draconomicons, where they show you the entire internal
Yeah.
workings of the creature. They give you like a Grey's Anatomy style, drawing of the organs and whatnot. Um, do you have anything you want to point out about this particular series of pages and information in this book?
Um, so I enjoy this. I I think that genuinely I would like it 200% more if the anatomy includes some kind of sidebar about how to get that into the text at the table,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's kind of there to entertain the DM.
Right.
I'm not saying there's no way to get it to the table, right?
Right. Yeah.
I respect that there are people on this call who are biologists, and could come up with a really clever like moment in an adventure to really push that content and make it exciting. I
Right.
do think that is living in hard mode for let's say all of us non-majors.
Yeah, no, I for sure, absolutely. This is really the type of information that is right after my own heart, right? Like this is purely like, and even the society pieces when it talks about beholder religion and language and the relationships
Yep.
with other creatures and all that. That stuff really speaks to me too. And even in a more
Yeah,
gameable
like
way, in to some extent, right?
yeah,
But
right, I was
how
gonna
many?
say
But
that that's easier to put at
right.
the table, right?
Right, but also how many PCs are really going to go check out a Beholder Society in a way that they actually survive in there to learn enough of the information directly, rather than just getting it from some sage or reading some lore, right? Like that's where
Right.
that's where the because you can also get the anatomy by talking to a sage or reading some lore, and that's also not exciting, right? Like so
No,
I
agreed.
think both of those have the same kind of issue. It's just that the society one is usually information that you could actually use to have a plan, to build a plan, to assault
Exactly.
a beholder layer or something in a way that's more meaningful to the PCs in the game setting, right? Um, so
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
fully
Well, we know
understand
that
that.
this
Yeah,
beholder and that beholder like are at odds because of this fact about beholder
right.
society.
Yep. Right.
Therefore,
Yeah.
we can, yeah, and it's that
Right.
exact kind of, and therefore is
Hmm.
really how I
Right.
want that hypothetical sidebar to start.
Hmm.
Again, the
Right.
content is not bad. I'm not saying it doesn't belong. It's beautiful and
Hmm.
interesting.
Right.
It's just hard to put players in contact with it in any way but the very most gross.
Right, right. And and that is also, by the way, not specific to beholders. That actually is true of any of the books that go
No,
into
it's
a
not.
great deal of anatomy, right? Because of
Yeah,
just the nature
yeah,
of
yeah.
the way that we run games, right? And the way that information can be conveyed to players and how PCs gain information in the game setting. Like that's just by the nature of
Yeah,
that,
for sure.
it tends to make those kind of, even though I love all those entries. Any look, you want to sell Sam Dillon a book? Tell me that it has the
Right?
anatomical like drawings and stuff of some creature, and I might not even care about the creature, but I'm gonna go buy that book because I just find that stuff fascinating, right? But yeah, so but I do find it interesting that the Beholder is so iconic that it has an entire chapter on just beholders is says a lot about you know, how they are viewed and how they are used and how scary they are and how they're sort of just in the common consciousness of D&D players, right? Um, they are now maybe what one could suspect that they are now for sure because, for example, they're on the cover of the fifth edition D&D Monster Manual, right? Um,
Yep.
but the reason that they're on that cover is because they're such an iconic, important, formidable foe who's also intelligent and also has a weird, strange, aberrant way of looking and interacting with our, mortal world and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it has all of those elements to it. So,
I mean, my takeaway here is that okay, the adventure section that you're looking at right now is
hmm
not something I have a lot to offer on, but speaking more broadly, I think that it would be great fun to give this book the full edition Wars treatment and go through it in close detail because
hmm
I mean, Lords of Madness is it's a real one, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
great stuff.
So are you ready to move on to fourth edition?
Yeah, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Okay. So fourth edition, of course, there is a beholder entry in every monster manual in fourth edition. And so what that means is there's a monster manual 1 that has beholders in it. There's a monster manual 2 that has beholders in it. There's a monster manual 3 that has beholders in it. There's a monster vault that has beholders in it. So we're going to try to make this section as quick as possible, but understand that fourth edition, because the beholder is such an iconic foe, and can be intelligent and be a villain and also just be fodder for every fight. There are a lot of different versions of the Beholder in here. And to be fair, there's also a lot of different versions in third edition. It's just that they're more slight changes on a theme, and they don't really get a lot of different names. Whereas in fourth edition, everything had a different name if it was a different level. So we have the Beholder Eye of
Yeah,
Flame and the Beholder Eye Tyrant, which are theoretically different creatures, but they're still both just beholders.
right. For the player experiencing them, the player doesn't have a lot of way to sort of look at them and say, "Oh, well, we are 50% screwed because it's an elite Eye of Flame, but
Right.
but we as 13th level characters need to cut and run because
Right.
that is a 19th level and
Yeah.
our lunch done been ate. We got to go, and that's one of the fundamental like narrative disconnects of
hmm
the 4E monster design style,
Right.
right? Um, because things often don't have a lot of uh, external signifiers of which stat block you're thinking about,
hmm
and needing to think about a stat block in particular is already a deeply meta thought. It's
Right.
sort of either you trust the DM to make the combat fair or not, but like you can't have the kind of okay, now a totally overwhelming monster shows up and you know you should run before even the first couple of attack rolls.
Right. So so let me give you a really concrete example of this, just looking at this one page, just for the audience, right? So the Beholder page in the fourth edition Monster Manual, it has on the first page of the Beholder entry, it has two different creatures. It has the Beholder Eye of Flame, which is a level 13 elite artillery, and it has the Beholder Eye Tyrant, which is a level 19 solo artillery. Okay. Now, here's the thing: they're both beholders, which means they both theoretically have 10 eye stalks and a center eye. So they both have 11 eye stalks. The fourth edition Beholder art is very evocative of the third edition Beholder art. It has the needle like teeth, it has a big,
Yep,
huge mouth, it has the really strong, sort of bony architecture almost, it looks like. Uh, Rather than
yep.
sort of a gaseous, like circling ball with a bunch of eye stalks on it, right? It's very, very, very ugly and dangerous, right? But here's the thing: these beholders, both of these beholders in these entries, theoretically have 11 eyes, right? The beholder eye of
Uh,
flame.
huh.
I
Yeah.
mean, well, so right, because they're beholders, and so they have 10 eye stalks and one middle eye, right? So 11. But the beholder eye of flame can only use two eye ray powers, okay,
Yep.
and and they give you a list of three, and one of them you have to choose the fire ray because it's the eye of flame, right? So what that
Yep.
means is that from the player perspective, if the DM is describing this thing correctly, because again, the fourth edition monster manual does not have a ton of descriptives for
Yep.
a lot of these creatures. They kind of just, for some of these, assumed you knew what it was, right? It's one of the faults of the Monster Manual 1 in 4th edition. Um, this thing has three eye rays: a fire ray, a telekinesis ray, and a fear ray. Okay? But it's got 11 eyes. So there's no way
Sure.
until the PCs, until the players are in a battle with this creature, there's no way for them to know unless the DM takes it upon himself or herself to specifically describe this creature as bright red with a low everlasting flame coming off of it, and the eyes of a third of the eye stalks have like fiery red irises, and a third have weird hypnotic fear causing irises, and you know what I mean.
I
um
do.
because it doesn't actually tell you anything to distinguish these two things. You have to fight it. And then the Beholder Eye Tyrant, the level 19 solo, it actually has 10 rays that it can use. I mean, it can use two per turn, but it has 10 different rays for each eye stalk. It can have, you see what I'm saying? So
Yep.
there's no way to know though, because theoretically those two creatures would be described exactly the same way
Yep.
based on
Well,
just based on the text.
yeah. And what's really gonna get you, right, is sort of, okay, you've done some fighting, you've put about 100 damage into this thing.
Hmm.
Hey, GM, is it bloodied? No, bro.
Right.
It's
Right.
at one ninth of its total.
Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah,
taking one ninth of its total
right.
damage. Not even
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But the
guys,
but
we
that's
should
when you
go.
realize, oh yeah, that's when you realize, oh crap. Whereas the other one though, it would be bloodied if you did just over
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
hundred, right?
yeah.
And so that's the only way. But to do that, you have to be fighting it first. And so you're sort of entering this with incomplete information, and I don't like that, right?
Well, like I'm
Could
fine with beholders having plenty of surprises. I
Sure,
don't want our
sure,
audience to misunderstand. Like
sure.
Sam, you and I are on the same page with what we're saying here. I want our
Yeah,
audience to
yeah,
get what
yeah,
we're saying.
yeah.
I think that like it, the text doesn't give the GM enough ways to telegraph, y'all, you don't know it yet, but your host, you got to go.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like looking at those two stat blocks, right around level 16 is sort of that perfect moment of it's reasonable to encounter either of these,
Mm-hmm. Right.
right?
Yep.
The level 13 elite artillery is not off the table, and the level 19 solo is just coming on to the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's extremely dangerous at that point in the game
Right.
because 900 hit points is so many hit points. Oh my
And
Lord, that's
there's
so many hit points.
Right. And so from my perspective, the issue I have with this is not that it's actually bad, because I love beholders, right? And so these two beholders are actually just fine creatures, right? They would be fine at the table depending on how you structure your encounter, et cetera, et cetera. However, as a DM, if I'm going to use one or both of these creatures, I have to put in a lot of work to make sure that the players can figure out that those two things are different, and they can
Right.
figure out soon-ish how they're different and which one is more dangerous, and because that affects
Yeah.
the strategy. And fourth edition is all about the strategy they're using on the battlefield, right?
Yep.
So
And
and
you
then
know
here's my
that
problem.
same
Here's my problem though. My problem is there's no guidance in this entry, in either of these entries or in this, section about that.
yep. Um, like the beholder lore uh is almost helpful.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
it sort of stops just short of clarifying that, but No,
Right.
I agree
But
with
it's
you,
all,
right?
yeah, it's also like, okay, if you're talking to a sage and you learn that, but it still doesn't tell you how to tell them apart when you come upon them in the
Right.
Underdark, right?
Yep, it absolutely does not.
So, yeah. On the other hand, these two creatures are very dangerous, right? So let's not belabor this, but I do want to talk about the eye rays that the eye tyrant has because we're going to see what
Yeah,
happens in the next entries, right? So the eye rays that
yeah,
this eye tyrant has, the level 19 solo, has a radiant searing ray, a necrotic withering ray, a sleep ray, a telekinesis ray, a hold ray, which that's the hold person, hold monster, confusion ray, which is a charm effect, the fear ray, the petrifying ray, the death ray, and the disintegrate ray. Okay.
and then the Ray stands, right, and the Ray Kinsella. No,
Yeah, exactly. That's the level 20 solo. That's what, yeah.
oh, okay, okay,
Um, so let's take a look at the Monster Manual 2. The Monster Manual 2 has a level 14 elite artillery beholder Eye of Frost. So we had an Eye of Fire, now we have an Eye of Frost, and we still have the elite Eye Tyrant. We also get the Gouth, right? The Eye of Frost is one level higher than the Eye of Fire, and it has a similar kind of setup, except it uses ice and cold and freezingness instead of fire. Okay. Um,
yeah, and its
but
central eye doesn't hit you with vulnerability specifically because that
right, right.
was an
That was in the
interesting
fire.
thing
Yeah.
about
Yep.
the fire one.
Yep. So, and then there is an Eye of Chaos, which is a level 25 elite artillery, which has six different types of rays, which I find interesting because the level 19 had all nine or 10 different kinds of rays, right? And
Yeah,
this one only has six. It has telekinesis, blinding ray, confounding, which is the charm, maddening ray, fear ray, and teleporting ray. Teleporting ray is kind of
yeah,
cool.
and
Um,
just for our audience's sake,
yeah.
there's no mistaking the fact that like it has fewer eyes because it needs to be simpler. It needs to be simpler because it's elite rather than solo.
Right, sure.
That's
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
that's
That's a
like it's game logic, not narrative logic.
right. And then there is a level 29 solo artillery beholder ultimate tyrant, which has 1,080 hit points
Honestly, a very minor increase in hit
from
points
the
from
900.
the
Right.
900,
Yeah, but think about that
considering
nine that
it's 10 CRs higher.
right, that 900 though was a level 19. The level 25 only has 364 in this
Solo versus
monster
elite. Yep.
manual. Yeah. Right. Solo versus lead. Exactly, right? So again, game reasons, right? Gamist reasons
Yep.
versus narrative reasons.
Yep.
But the Beholder Ultimate Tyrant, the level 29 one, it has a Madness Ray, an Unraveling Ray, which area burst 1 within 10, plus 32 versus Fortitude, 2d6 plus 7 damage, and you take ongoing 10 damage. You fail the saving throw, you take another 1d10 damage. You fail a second saving throw, you take 2d10 damage. Fail a third saving throw, you take 3d10 damage. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's rough. Then there's a Withering Ray, a Burning Ray, a Telekinesis Ray, a Frost Ray, a Petrifying Ray, and a Disintegrate Ray. A Ray of Attraction, which the target takes a -5 penalty to all defenses. And at the start of the target's turn, the beholder pulls it 2 squares. So it basically reduces all your defenses and then pulls you close for a nice warm hug from grandma.
Mm.
10, the Ray of
Petrifying ray, you
Repulsion.
say? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. The Ray of Repulsion pushes you. So instead of it also gives you a negative penalty to one of your defenses, and then it pushes you away. So more ways for the Beholder to be a complete badass. I mean,
Yep.
you know, so that's the Monster Manual 2. The Monster Manual 3 has a Beholder Spawn, which is a level 15 minion, and then it has the Eye of Shadow, which is a level 12 elite lurker, which has, again, back down to 3 rays, but it's a blinding ray, a thundering ray, and a shadow bond ray, which does
Mm.
necrotic damage and immobilizes you.
That's pretty
And
cool.
yeah, that's kind of neat. It can also teleport and become invisible, which is really awesome. And then it has this interesting Ghost Beholder. I do believe that there was a Ghost Beholder in third edition as well. that I ran across that I just didn't highlight, but I think that's there as well. Just like we talked about the undead beholders, ghost beholders are another like they're of course they're undead because they're ghosts, but they're just a separate version of undead beholders. These things have a chill of the grave, cold and necrotic damaging ray, a ghost possession ray, and a killing thought ray, which does a bunch of damage for free, basically. Very interesting. Very interesting. It is a level 18 elite. So think about this now. We now have spanned between level 12 to level 29 with beholders, which is a really super broad range, which basically says that in fourth edition, you can use beholders very early in your game, relatively speaking,
Yeah.
and for a very long time.
Yeah, and I think we really see them here responding to, one of the paradoxes of D&D, which is that a lot of the iconic monsters traditionally have a very hard time showing up
Hmm.
because so many campaigns don't last to high level.
Yeah. If we
Uh,
look at the Monster Vault, which happened a little bit later in the life cycle, you get a level 5 elite artillery Goth beholder. Goth, Gauth, not Goth, Goth, just so you
uh,
know.
yeah,
Um,
it does heavy eye makeup and
yeah,
like
that's right. It wears a black leather trench coat,
like
paints
yeah
its
yeah
nails black.
yeah
It's fine.
yeah
Yeah.
pancake white, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, yeah. Beholder, level 9 solo artillery,
Level
and Beholder
9.
Eye
Wow.
Tyrant, yeah, which is a level 19. So you get this thing, you get an actual Beholder down at level 9, but it's a solo, but still level 9.
Yeah.
And it has all 10 rays, by the way.
Yeah. Very very traditional here. I
Yep,
mean, the death is not very deathy.
right. Yeah.
You have to
Um,
fail a bunch of saving throws to die.
yeah. And you'll notice none of these strictly have an anti-magic ray,
Yeah,
because
that doesn't do
that's
anything in
yeah, in
Forty.
fourth edition that would be like, yeah, it's just not, yeah.
Yeah. Um, it's a fundamental design problem that also
Right.
exists, sort of partially solved in 5e,
Yeah.
where is this effect magic? Uh, in
Yeah,
4e,
right.
there's sort of the answer is, well, probably yes, but we can't let you have anti-magic because that just totally shuts down some classes. They literally have no way to do anything that isn't
Right.
magic.
Right.
Um, so, oops. And then in
Yeah.
5e, it's, is that magic? I mean, maybe. Let's see. Is it a spell
Yeah.
attack? That's a good guess. Is it a spell? Well, that's a good sign.
Right.
But if it's something like a dragon's breath, no, that's not magic.
Yeah. And just to be clear, remember, audience, fourth edition was predicated on the idea of having balanced math such that you could create an encounter with a certain makeup of a certain range of level of creatures, and you as a DM would have a really good idea, theoretically speaking, of how that is exactly going to turn out, how many resources it's going to cause the players to have to use of their PCs, and how much, like a very good idea. Now, are they successful at that all the time? Well, go listen to our other last 100 episodes, right? Because
Yep.
sometimes yes and sometimes no. But the idea here is that that's the reason why you can't just have an anti-magic ray and nerf the magic casting classes, because then that idea of being able to just apply the math and have some knowledge of how balanced this thing is would just go out the window. So that's fourth edition. Do we want to look at fifth edition?
Uh, yeah. I'm ready to talk about some
I
fifth
mean,
edition.
I don't think we need to painstakingly go over all of
No, I
these.
agree with that.
They're yeah,
There's
they're very
like
dangerous. The art's pretty good,
Yeah. There's a
and
ton of detail
yeah,
here, but with all the love in the world for our listeners, I think we'll spare them
yeah,
the
yeah,
gory detail.
yeah. So let's talk about fifth edition. So here is the 2014 Monster Manual entry. Um, We know that the Monster Manual has that iconic cover. The 2014 Monster Manual has that iconic cover with the beholder on it, which looks just absolutely badass. And here's the stat block. What do you have to say about this, sir?
Well, so for CR13, 180 hit points is very respectable. AC 18 also pretty good. It's sort of in an area where armor class escalation really slows down.
Hmm.
Um, there's plenty of things of that CR and higher that have no better AC than about 18. Uh, you'll see some higher ACs, but not a lot, is what I'm trying to tell you. So, right, you get it through anti-magic cone. This is a very traditional
Hmm.
anti-magic field situation. Yes, it can bite, great. The eye arrays are where things start getting strange because 5e insists on those being random in how they
Right.
are used on the players. And that's a weird choice. Um, it, because it sort of sets up the expectation that eye rays are random all the time and beholders don't control it.
Right.
But that's a weird idea by
Right.
any
Also,
means.
this thing has an intelligence of 17,
Right.
which is
Well, like if you, as I did, read a bunch of the second ed I Tyrant,
mhm.
content,
Yep.
there's a lovingly written section in there about using disintegration rays and all kinds of other nonsense to carve tunnels to make a layer. Well, that
Right.
doesn't go very well if your eye rays are firing off randomly,
Right.
right? And so I think I am not wild about making it random. I think I would rather see kind of if some of these are too good to be used all the time, and I think they are, looking at you, Death Ray and Baseball Ray. Uh, it's sorry, it's Field of Dreams jokes, guys. I don't know what to tell
Yeah.
you. Um, uh, so sort of your 8, 9, and 10 set there are incredibly dominating,
Right.
right? They're absolutely incredibly powerful. But I'd rather see those split off into like, okay, these ones have a recharge timer
Hmm.
kind of
Right.
situation, or you know, can't be used all in the same round as each other. You can only use one of these in a given. You know what I mean? Like, just if you if you're not okay with this happening all the time, write the logic so it works that way,
Right.
rather than um, the the beholder is this lawful, highly intelligent creature that has no way to plan its own combat.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, because basically, audience, what Brandis is saying is the reason they made it random is so that the DM doesn't just come out and hit everything with a disintegration and a death ray or a petrification all the
Yep.
time.
Well, like yeah,
because
and
because the other seven rays are relatively weak compared to those.
yeah,
So why wouldn't this thing, if it was actually being challenged and threatened and had a chance of dying itself, why wouldn't it come out with the big hitting eye rays? Well, the answer that they chose here was, well, because when it's stressed in a fight, it just randomly fires off whatever powers, which doesn't really
right.
make a lot of sense.
Not so much. Um, and we get legendary actions here,
Hmm.
though notably no legendary resistance. Kind of a
Yeah.
weird oversight. Uh,
Right.
but its legendary action is use an eye ray. Okay, sure.
Right. And
Uh,
randomly,
yeah, yeah.
randomly
Uh,
again, still.
Now,
Yeah.
the interesting thing about that legendary action design is that it really strongly points back to the fourth edition um, aura that the original Monster Manual beholders have, where if
Yeah. So
something
let's
starts
pop that
its
back up here.
turn, um, at the start
Yeah.
of each enemy's turn, if that creature is within the aura, it's an aura 5, so 5 square, 25-foot aura. Uh,
Hmm.
if the creature is within the aura and in the beholder's line of sight, the beholder uses one random IRA power against that creature.
Right.
Uh, so that is the same kind of I interrupt your turn to murder you, I interrupt your turn to murder you, I interrupt your turn to murder you.
Right.
Oh my
Right.
Lord.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
And uh, I like that, right? It really keeps the monster present in the action all the time.
But in this case, though, it works to be random because during the beholder's regular turn, it's choosing which rays it gets to use. And
Yes, I
so
agree with that.
it's sort of like, okay, it's focusing its fight against the thing that it's choosing to fight, and that it chooses its eye powers that it's using for that. And the reason that if you're in the aura, it's just kind of randomly trying to swat at you, right? And so in that case, it makes sense to me that it's random. It doesn't make sense to me in the fifth edition one because it's literally just any time it uses an eye ray, roll a D10 and it's going to randomly do one of those.
Yeah. And as you're saying, I'm fine with uh, that aura being random, and I can be fine with the legendary actions being random.
Hmm.
I think that's still pretty much okay.
Right.
I do think that creating some additional reliability um, for the creature's main action is pretty much a good thing.
Yeah. Were there many changes in the 2024 version of the monster manual?
Okay, so the changes are very simple. It picks up 10 hit points. Um, it picks up legendary resistance, 3 per day or 4 in layer. Um, the eye rays remain random. I'm not doing a point by point comparison to see what got
Sure.
retuned on the rays. I will say that disintegration ray got toned down uh,
Okay.
a bit. Um, and then on legendary actions, it can either glare to use an eye ray attack, again at random, or it can make 2 bite attacks as a single legendary action, which is sort of unusual.
Hmm.
Its bite attack is sort of very modest damage um, compared to what one of its eye rays can do. So,
Right.
like, you're looking at 26 or so average damage if both of those bites hit.
Hmm.
Um, if there's even a chance of throwing out another disintegration ray, then who are you kidding?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yep.
So,
So
uh,
I feel like the beholder has actually maybe I don't feel like this. I was going to say it's been weakened a little bit in fifth
uh,
edition. Not sure I actually feel that way, but that randomness really hits me wrong, and I feel
yeah,
like that could really because if I keep rolling a six, right,
sure.
or a seven, it's really not,
No, I agree with that. They're, I think it's a weird choice for them here, um, considering how much the edition on the whole kind of likes some uh, reliability and consistency of experience.
Yeah.
Um, and that's really hard to create with, 1d10 rolls. This can turn up any old way. Um,
Right.
Rerolling duplicates does help, right? You have to reroll duplicates, and that does help.
Right.
Um, the one other big thing I want to say about beholders is that this entry includes a brief bit on beholder layers that's also going to be in the 2014. But the beholder layers, uh, have this widespread effect on the geography. Um,
Hmm.
it, the whole region. Um, so beholders lurk in cavern complexes they've carved using their eye rays. See, I mentioned that.
Hmm. Yep.
Deep in the Underdark or in layers created for them by their servants. The region containing and let me tell you, the time that you mean to charm someone and accidentally disintegrate them, that's
Right.
bad. Like
Yeah.
Lord Vader was very specific. No disintegrations.
Yes, yes, he was.
Uh, but the region containing a beholder's lair is twisted by its presence, creating the following effects: scopophobia, the
Mm,
fear of being watched. Any creature that finishes a short rest while within 1 mile of the lair must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or gain no benefit from that rest. That's an interesting one. Brutal.
yeah.
But I mean, it's not that hard to just move farther away and take your long rest somewhere distant. And then warping terrain. Minor warps in reality occur near the lair. Any creature, excluding the beholder, within 1 mile of the lair that makes a D20 test and rolls a 1 has the prone condition because the space warps and you fall down.
Hmm. Really
Uh,
interesting because in the 2014 there is also a thing about their layer.
yeah,
Um,
and,
but
and the first bullet of the regional effects is scopophobia, but now
right,
they've
but
given
it
it a tangible effect.
right, it doesn't actually have an effect. It just says, "Oh, creatures within a mile of the beholder's lair sometimes feel as if they're being watched when they aren't." But
Yep,
it doesn't say, "And this affects them this way mechanically," like it
yep.
does in the 2024. I like that change. That's good.
I don't know. I sort of like the Uh, don't worry about giving it a mechanical effect. It's just super eerie. I can be kind of okay with that
Yeah, I
either
mean, I
way.
also like that. I admit I
Um,
also like that because I'm really big into narrative, right? If
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
can, you know, if you, because I like the creepy Underdark, right? Like I'm
yeah.
not when my players go into the Underdark, it's super creepy. There's lots of weird noises, strange lighting effects, and this fits right in with that. So, and I don't always, in fact, I rarely have a mechanical effect necessarily with that. So, yeah, interesting. Hmm.
And then the lair actions. There aren't lair actions in 2024. They got rid of that.
Yeah.
So do we want to do death tyrants real fast?
Only just as a quick comparison, the ray is still, or the eye ray is still random. Um, it's a challenge level 14, challenge a CR 14, has a slightly higher armor class and hit points, much 2 point higher intelligence. The rays I think are the same except the DCs are slightly
Uh,
different.
they're a bit more different than that actually.
Okay.
Innervation is different. And the negative energy cone on the central eye is a big deal.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Uh,
that is definitely different. Yes. Yeah.
but it is one CR higher, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Overall, very similar.
Right.
I think slowing ray might be different. Anyway,
Let's see. DC 17, your speed is halved for a minute. You can't take reactions. Let's see what you get up here. DC
okay,
16,
my bad.
same effect,
Oh,
different
okay.
DC because
I
of the
just
CR. Yeah.
had the wrong eye rays in my mind because I'm
Yeah,
remembering too
no,
many
that's
editions
okay.
at once. Um,
Yeah, too many additions.
but yeah, the
That's
Death
exactly
Tyrant,
why we're having this
right?
this
Right.
podcast.
So the core change is actually the anti-magic cone switching to a negative energy cone.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
the main thing. Um, and the negative energy cone's effect is um, healing denial in its
Right.
area, and anything that dies there, sorry, any intact humanoid corpse there instantly rises as a zombie. So wow, it could that corpse could have been there any length of time, and suddenly
Yep.
it's a
Right.
zombie.
Yep.
But the restriction to humanoid means that it might not do anything.
Right. Yep.
Because you could have a whole team of PCs with nary a humanoid.
That's true. Um, okay. Final thoughts on the Beholder.
Uh, I mean, honestly, the core of my thought is get rid of random eye rays and uh, the through line of beholders back to the beginning is pretty well intact. Uh, and the ways in which Fori is an outlier, uh, in a sense, almost call back to second ed
Hmm.
uh, and its variability in beholders in a way that appeals to me. I can really dig that. You just have to be ready as a GM to do the work of characterizing them so that PCs have some way to know what they're getting, right?
Right.
Like the day that your PCs have a reasonable belief that they're up against an Eye of Flame and it turns out this thing has 900 hit points and you wipe the party.
Yeah.
I, most most games that's not a good experience. You
Right.
if they don't have a good way to get away once they start figuring that out, it's not going to be a good experience.
Yep.
Uh,
Fully
but
agree.
but
Yeah.
that's the essence of my take on beholders. Um, there are other things that are beholder influenced without being proper beholders that I also love. I think
Hmm.
I name checked the Mind Witness earlier in the episode,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
and it's a starfish with the beholder eyes at the end of each arm,
Yeah.
right? And like I use those as if they were um, candy that I could just throw out anywhere in this one dungeon the players went to.
Right.
Um, and like in my setting, beholders work a little bit differently. Um, they are connected to this abomination power, and
Hmm.
so the PCs have been in some dungeons where I announced to the PCs, you know, you now have one tick or one stack of the eye is almost upon you,
Hmm.
and it's a condition that they gain levels of, and they know they don't want to get to five because what happens when you get to five is the beholder teleports in, and the whole thing
Nice.
restarts, right? And
Yep.
like they've had adventures where like everyone gets out with four stacks of the eye is almost upon you,
Nice.
right?
Yep.
Uh, so that was how I was able to use beholders to be terrifying without showing up um, in what was at the time a fairly uh, early mid-level adventure. I think the PCs would
Hmm.
have been somewhere between 7 and 8,
Right.
um, and that was super effective. Do recommend?
Wow. I'm stuck on starfish
Yeah,
with beholder eyes at the end. Because here's the thing. Did you know starfish walk?
I know very little about starfish, as it happens.
Starfish, they have what are called they call them tube feet, but it's not like a little foot pops out. It's like hundreds of little tiny tubes that they can pressurize and put fluid into, and then depressurize, and then pressurize and depressurize to lift their bodies up and walk. I urge any listener to just go to YouTube and search for starfish walking, and you can get all kinds of videos that are these really creepy, interesting. But it when you said that about the beholders and the eyes being sort of at the end of the starfish's, however many legs that it has, so not all of them just have five, right? Um, that is absolutely creepy when you think of it standing up and walking after you. It's
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
just
Uh,
insane. Wow. That's
like
really cool. I
uh,
like
I,
it.
in the session where I used them a lot, I actually made them sessile, um,
Hmm. Hmm.
and they just were stuck up in the corners of rooms, so they were
Yeah.
really annoying to reach. And so it was
Right.
mostly there for the ranged characters to worry about while the melee characters handled stuff on the ground.
Hmm.
Um,
I believe that we are at the end of our beholder discussion, and yeah, great creature. I love it. They are dangerous. They have a reputation for a reason. And you know what? They're pretty much one of the scariest creatures you can meet in any edition.
I just think it's amazing that we got out of this whole thing without any of my cornea jokes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do have a nice editing suite.
All right. Well,
All
Sam,
right.
where can the listeners find you?
The listeners can find me at rpgmusings.com, or you can find me on the Tome Show Discord. If you need a link to that, just throw me a request. I am DM Samuel on all the social medias, though I do not necessarily check them very frequently. I'm around. I do check occasionally. So, yeah. What about you, sir?
You can find me on Blue Sky at brendastoddard.bsky.social. I'm on the Tome Show Discord. Personal blog is brendastoddard.com. My Patreon is also Brenda Stoddard.
Awesome. All right. And we will see you tomorrow.